Okay. If we talk about statistics and historical influence, if we talk about popularity based on influence and time, then as historians we must say that we would have to put Jesus of Nazareth as the number one most historical figure of all time. Why? Because history is based on time, and the Jesus of Nazareth that is mentioned in the Gospels has been the most statistical, influential figure for the nearly past 2,000 years. Now, in this segment, we're going to study in depth the historical evidence and facts that we can attribute to the historical Jesus of Nazareth. As historians, we are obliged to give the audience the most information we can to bring the most of tangible evidence of the existence of Jesus and the details of his life. According to the Gospels, so let's begin. Okay. First of all, when and where was he born? Before I mention anything else, I want the audience to understand that before the Roman Empire became a Christian society, they were first a pagan society. Again, they were a pagan society. So that means that a lot of dates that we have today, like the 25th of December, which the majority of us, the society, take that as the date of Christ's birth. Before that, this date of the 25th of December was a Roman pagan festival that celebrated the birth of the invisible sun during the winter solstice. So, when Rome changed to a Christian society, they had to supplement a lot of their pagan dates with biblical events. Therefore, Rome decided to accommodate this date with the birth of Jesus Christ. So, if that's the case, then when and where was he really born? The Bible doesn't give any exact date of the birth of Jesus. All you can reference yourself to the time he was born is by references that are mentioned by historical evidence and the Gospels. For example, you can calculate the season in which Jesus was born by making a countdown from his death, which took place in the spring of the year 33 of our era, on the date of Easter, which in the Jewish calendar is the 14th of Nisan, which is mentioned in John 19, verse 14 through 16. Jesus was about 30 years old when he began his ministry, which lasted 3.5 years. That means he was born in the early fall of year 2 before our era, which this is also mentioned in Luke 3:23. So the majority of historians and scholars attribute this as early fall. Okay. Where, according to the Gospels? Where was he born? Well, he was born in the Palestinian city of Bethlehem, which is in the West Bank in today's world. Remember, he was born early fall in the city of Bethlehem. Now, is there any historical evidence that the Jesus of Nazareth really existed? Well, for the surprise of those who don't know, there is. There are two strong links that historians clinch to for the existence of Jesus. And in reality, this is all we have. Here are the two. Number one, the historical references mentioned outside of the Gospels. Number two, the statistic that all historians know about. And that is the impact. I repeat, the impact a person can have, and after he is gone, how much time that impact lasts. With that being said, Jesus of Nazareth has had an impact of nearly almost 2,000 years. That means that his that means that historians are inclined to believe that he must have existed to have had such an impact. So we all know that the Gospels, which are the first 4 books of the New Testament, which are Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, are the more detailed books of Jesus' divine role here on earth. But are there other sources which speak about him or mention him outside of the Gospels? Well, let's see. Here's some. Flavius Josephus was a historian which existed in c. 37 through 100. Josephus, which was a historian and Jewish priest, he wrote that Annas, which was a high priest who continued to exercise much political influence, did the following. He called in the Sanhedrin, which was the Jewish Supreme Court, together. He called the brother of Jesus, who was called Christ, on trial. His name was James. So, by the way, these accounts are found in paragraphs 63 and 64 of chapter 18 of the book Jewish Antiquities, written by the Jewish historian Flavius Josephus, in which Jesus is mentioned, called Christ. By the way, this appointment also helps to date the death of James, which was the brother of Jesus, in the year 62. And the book, The Jewish Antiquities, is a chronicle written about AD 93, which tells a story of the Jewish people in a reasonably complete manner. Here's another source. Tacitus, which existed in c. 56 through 120 CE. Tacitus is considered to be one of the greatest of the ancient Roman historians. His Annals deal with the Roman Empire from 14 CE to 68 CE. Remember, Jesus died in 33 CE. Tacitus wrote that when a great fire devastated Rome in 64 CE, Emperor Nero was considered responsible. But Tacitus wrote that Nero accused the Christians in order to scotch the rumor. Then Tacitus said, Christus, the founder of the name Christian, had undergone the death penalty in the reign of Tiberius by sentence of the procurator Pontius Pilatus. This is found in the Annals, book 14, chapter 44. So here's another source outside of the Gospels. Suetonius, which existed in c. 69a 122 CE. In his Lives of the Caesars, this Roman historian recorded events during the reigns of the first 11 Roman emperors. This section on Claudius refers to turmoil among the Jews in Rome that was likely caused by disputes over Jesus. Now, if you go to the book of Acts in the New Testament, chapter 18, verse 2, which is in the New Testament, it reads, And he found a Jew named Aquila, a native of Pontus, who had recently come from Italy with Priscilla, his wife, because Claudius had ordered all the Jews to leave Rome. So he went to them. Now, Suetonius wrote, Since the Jews constantly made disturbances at the instigation of Christus, he, Claudius, expelled them from Rome. This is all found in the deified Claudius book. Although wrongly accusing Jesus of creating disturbances, Suetonius did not doubt his existence. So there you go. Here's another source outside of the Gospels. Pliny the Younger, c. 61 113 CE. This Roman author and administrator in Bithynia, which is in modern-day Turkey, wrote to Roman Emperor Trajan about how to deal with the Christians in that province. Pliny said that he tried to force Christians to recant, executing any who refused to do so. He explained, Those who repeated after me an invocation to the pagan gods and offered adoration with wine and frankincense to your image, and who finally cursed Christ, I thought it proper to discharge. This is found in the Pliny Letters, book 10. The Pliny Letters, Book 10. So there again, Christos, is mentioned. Here's another source outside of the Gospel. The Talmud, which is a collection of Jewish rabbinic writings dating from the 3rd to the 6th centuries CE, shows that even Jesus' enemies affirmed his existence. One passage says that on the Passover, Yeshu, Jesus, the Nazarene, was hanged. Well, that is found in the Babylonian Talmud, Sanhedrin 43a, the Munich Codex. Now, if you see John chapter 19, verses 14 through 16, it says, "Now it was the day of preparation of the Passover. It was about the 6th hour. And he said to the Jews, 'See, your king.' However, they shouted, 'Take him away, take him away, to the stake with him.' Pilate said to them, 'Shall I execute your king?' The chief priests answered, 'We have no king, but Caesar.' Then he handed him over to them to be executed on the stake. So they took charge of Jesus." Now, back to the Talmud. Another states, the Talmud said this, "May we produce no son or pupil who disgraces himself in public like the Nazarene," a title often applied to Jesus, which is in the Babylonian Talmud, Berakoth 17b. But if you see Luke chapter 18, verse 37, it says, "They reported to him, Jesus the Nazarene is passing by." So, once again, we take historical evidence outside of the Gospels, and we look into the Gospels to see if they are in agreement with each other. And so far, they do. Now, pay attention to this one, because to me, this is an absolute accurate source for all historians to research the historical facts about the Gospels and their authenticity. Listen carefully. If you see Luke chapter 3, verses 1 to 2, you will find it says this. This is what the Dr. Luke wrote. "In the 15th year of the reign of Tiberius Caesar, when Pontius Pilate was governor of Judea, Herod was district ruler of Galilee, Philip, his brother, was district ruler of the country of Iturea and Trachonitis, and Lysanias was district ruler of Abilene in the days of chief priest Annas and Caiaphas. God's declaration came to John, the son of Zechariah, in the wilderness. This detailed, precise list enables historians to establish that the reference of that mention of God's declaration to John the Baptist, which was a forerunner of Jesus, in the year 29 CE. Now, why 29 CE? How do we find that? Because the 7 public figures that Luke names are well known to historians. That said, for a time certain, critics did question the existence of Pontius Pilate and Lysanias, but ancient inscriptions bearing the names of those 2 officials have been discovered, confirming Dr. Luke's accuracy. Therefore, all of this falls in the theater of the year 29 CE. So, with all this said, historians and theologians can all agree that there is sufficient evidence that we can be certain of the existence of the most powerful figure in the last almost 2,000 years. But what about the other side of the story? How can a simple man who wasn't rich and didn't even have a home to his name, he wasn't powerful economically, become so powerful throughout history? What did he really do to impact through the echoes of influence and time? What did he really do? This has always been the mystery of almost all modern historians. They would be lying if they said no. Now, the Gospels tell us about powers unknown to man in today's world. that only he could do. Powers, like the testimonies of his miracles that he performed, like raising the dead. Well, that as a historian I cannot prove to you, but I will say this, or in the words of Albert Einstein, which was a German-born Jewish physicist. He said, "I am a Jew, but I am enthralled by the luminous figure of the Nazarene." When asked if he viewed Jesus as a historical person, he responded, "Unquestionably. No one can read the Gospels without feeling the actual presence of Jesus. His personality pulsates in every word. No myth is filled with such life." Thank you very much for watching this video, and don't forget to subscribe and comment, and I will see you on another segment. Thank you very much.